Our final talk of the day, of the whole week, of the whole symposium, right? Last but certainly not least, we have, and again, like, huge thanks to Michael for stepping in because we were kind of scrambling at the last minute. But our final speaker of the day will be Michael Lee, and he will be presenting his talk, AI governance, or AI ethics and governance, or AI governance. He's made it more pithy. He took a lesson from. Okay, so take it away.
Well, thank you, Matt and Karen. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great honor to be here. My name is Michael. I'm actually a little nervous, not because I'm presenting, but basically the entire idea of AI governance study is a very morbid path. It's a professional development career that I took. It took me a while to decide that this is actually the area I want to pursue for the future, and because of how Gen AI is becoming a risk to the society as well as to like many factors, including like career or job loss or economy or global warming. So kind of this is like the area that there's a lot of concerns and there's a lot of reading and a lot of practice and a lot of balancing between the tech and the legal and understanding how policy will work to reflect how to build AI safely. So yeah, so a lot of sleepless nights of studying, and basically like I'm trying to stay awake for the next my lifetime basically. A little bit more. Yeah, so just gonna jump into the. I don't want to scare a lot of people on this. We don't want the future to be like this at all. We want to prevent this as much as we can, but I mean, and this is actually another concern that we're kind of seeing nowadays is where 2022 was when ChatGPT came out. Innovation was sort of kind of like a steady trend, and regulation was sort of negligible in terms of how policy was developed back in the old days. And when ChatGPT came out, things got a little bit overboard. So regulation came into the framework, such as like the EU AI Act, the White House Executive Bill, the ADA Act, I think C Bill C-27 that Canada developed, still developing, and you can see the innovation kind of skyrocketed based on like how OpenAI developed new models, Llama came out, and things are sort of we're looking towards like maybe if AGI is going to come out in the next few years or not, we don't know. So this is actually not trying to scare people, but hopefully that we're going to align regulation and innovation sort of together and have consensus of what area that we need to make sure that we're not affecting people and the society. So yeah, quick agenda on the topic. So a little bit of glimpse of the past and the future about myself and how AI evolved. A little bit of regulation innovation, which is the prerequisite of AI governance. And then the strategies for AI governance, which is sort of like the framework of how we develop AI governance in any institution or organization. And lastly, kind of go a little bit over on the responsible AI pedagogy, a little bit of sample. I'm not an educator or a professor instructor, so there's a lot of stuff that's sort of I've used it for just to share knowledge of what I've done to my other work outside of University of Waterloo. So quickly to go over the background, this is actually like a timeline that I've been I went through in the past. There's a lot of pivots. So I graduated from the University of Waterloo, computational math major. I did my English minor. So I wanted to sort of combine that together to understand how the English, the linguistics, and how math and English can sort of combine and understand that. I don't know how to phrase this, but it kind of worked out in the end. And after I graduated, I started my own startup with my co-founder who graduated from his MBA program called Guide Analytics. And we had collaboration with the Conner Entrepreneurship School. And we were sort of focusing on how to tackle misinformation that were targeting like small to medium businesses, and how we can curate that data information to better align how they can grow their business better, or how to understand what kind of information that they're seeing online is misinformation. And through that process, we used one of the sort of the basic transformer model, which is kind of like you can imagine like transformers are the building blocks of nowadays the large language models. But back then it was only a research topic. It was developed by Google. And so we kind of incorporate BERT in our algorithm to help our clients to understand better of their businesses. And I also kind of did, my research assistant was my professor at Conrad Entrepreneurship, Shaban Moltroff. And we were also analyzing business mergers and acquisitions through BERT model to understand how when businesses buy other businesses, how does it impact sort of like the reactions or the like sentiment analysis, or understanding how like are there any organizational impact for like the employees or like the C-suites. And over the years, ChatGPT came out, and sort of this is actually like pre-Gen AI era a little bit. And with that ChatGPT came out, AI governance was established, sort of the basic framework, especially with US and EU were sort of forefront in this process. And then we can see the red being sort of like that's the sort of the trend that we're going through. Is AI governance is sort of developing towards this new Gen AI era. And now currently I'm working at CEL, which is Center for Extended Learning. I'm currently working with a lot of online instructors and students providing support with the online courses. And I've kind of played around with a lot of the GPT 3.5 for our models, just to see how there can be, we can incorporate that into our AI work at CEL. And then I kind of got involved with Learnest, which is actually one of the startups at Stanford University, collaboration with Stanford University for graduate education. And this is actually where the pedagogy comes into play, because there are a lot of the curriculum development for graduate students to help develop responsible AI in education, and how AI governance is going to be incorporated into that pedagogy. So quickly going into the traditional AI era, like a little bit of the past again. So kind of think of AI in the past as like a system, like any application, right? We have a wall, right? And then you can think of security, like cybersecurity attack is penetrating the wall. They're trying to get in. And then privacy is sort of the information that's inside the wall trying to leak out. So that's sort of the whole analogy of it, is that we don't want anything to come in and we don't want anything to leak out. And in Gen AI era, I kind of see, pretend that the maze is like this huge wall that we have. But instead of a wall, imagine like flood is actually like some sort of like for example, LLM injection. Like anyone can inject anything into a model, and then you may have like a data breach. So if a flood comes in, anything will come out from the other end. So this is sort of like a black box scenario. Like you don't know what's going on in the maze. Anything can come out, anything can come in. So scary. Yeah, so kind of go over a little bit on the regulation innovation. We're kind of seeing the trend where AI governance is established sort of between the US and EU a little bit, because they're at the forefront of innovation and regulation. Kind of pinpoint that EU is very regulated ever since that they passed GDPR because of, I think it was Cambridge Analytica situation. That's sort of like that was sort of like the forefront, like they're trying to push that regulation a little bit more towards protecting citizens of privacy rights. US, on the other hand, is more of the innovative approach. even though they do have a little bit of the regulation framework in place. But sort of like, this is like the, kind of what you see is like the, how do we balance this? And you can kind of see this is actually the, kind of we have to compare between the application for AI applications for EU and US. Just like a little bit glimpse. It's not, you don't have to read everything, but you can definitely tell that there's a lot of going on with EU policies for every application that's being implemented, whereas US is more sort of, there's not much going on. Kind of a good example would be a chatbot. If it's targeting customer service, then you have to go through the EU AI Act, because that's the requirement. But in the US, they don't really have that because it's not considered, they think that's not considered high risk. It's more of anyone can use it. They don't have, actually, yeah, I don't actually know why they don't have it, but yeah. Kind of another good one is facial recognition. And also, you have to go through the EU AI Act because there's there's a concern for deep fakes or gathering like facial recognition data that are tied to your identity. And then US also has sort of like, it's not really a regulation, it's more like a framework that you have to comply to make sure that you're not gathering, ensure that there's fairness and efficacy into it, but it's not really regulated, whereas EU is more regulated. Yeah, so quickly on the, like, what is AI governance? I got this definition, very good definition from IBM. Basically, it's just like, there's a lot of standards and guidelines that, I'll say, a lot of the stakeholders, like you may have like developers, like legal professionals, ethicists, researchers, and probably anybody in the organization, and they'll divide, they sort of decide the guidelines, the standards and guardrails to make sure that AI development is developed safely and trusted. And most of the time we're kind of looking towards like, the symposium is about ethics, so AI governance is about developing an ethical AI-centered approach. So basically, the whole entire AI governance is not technical. Like everybody can get involved. You don't really need any legal knowledge. Like you can just bring people to sort of like a discussion about. They can discuss like what's right and what's wrong. Other people, like developers or researchers, they can discuss their own expertise on what's right and wrong. So it's not like you have to be a developer, you have to be a lawyer. No, you can be anyone in the whole discussion. And then you can have a committee on this. So this is sort of like a report. There's a lot of information. But basically, this is actually published by the IAPP, which is the International Association of Privacy Professionals. Also, this is actually they're a nonprofit organization. They do a lot of sort of work with the EU and the US governments. They have privacy certification that we can take a look. There's the Asia, the Chinese, the European and US, Canada is also, and then the AI governance is also the other one. And this is sort of the overall report of how you develop an AI governance in your organization. So you kind of have, you can see you have the challenges that you have to face is like data, how do you want to train it, the privacy, data protection, transparency, explainability, and interpretability, bias, discrimination, fairness, security, AI safety, and copyright. So there's a lot. Overall, it's very comprehensive. And bottom is practical approaches. It's more of how do you go through the process of each step. So basically, it's very end-to-end framework. So from the beginning, you develop to the end, to production. Okay, so strategies for AI governance is kind of very quickly I'll go over it, is it's a very bottom to top approach. So in an organization, you have like, developers or researchers or any like, entry-level positions, all the way to the top C-suites. But basically, they kind of want to see, like, they want to flip this idea of people at the bottom are important as much as the people on top. They have more ideas. So that's one of the strategies that they want to put into the framework. Basically, bottom to middle is sort of like they want to come with a general consensus of what's right and wrong in AI development. So what kind of data they want to use, are there any gaps, any ethical concern, privacy concern, that kind of stuff. And the top will sort of make the final decision based on the general consensus, like the due diligence process and assuming without bias. So it's like no political bullshit kind of process. And yeah. So I'll kind of give you a good example is, so there's actually the structure, a very simple structure, where you have the people, specialists, developers at the bottom, and then you have some people in red team. Red team is more like, they want to make sure that the AI model is not outputting any risks or ensuring that it's fair, it's bias-free, there's no privacy breach. And then you have the AI officer, privacy officer. This is like an example of how the structure works. So like another good example is healthcare. So you have like these these are stakeholders. You have the AI officer, medical officer, privacy legal counsels, doctors, surgeons, medical researchers. These are all sort of like the committee that you want to form. And in education, it'll be like more kind of a little bit sophisticated. You may have the provost, AI officer, directors, you want to get professors involved, even students. So like just like get everyone involved, do a discussion of what's right and wrong in maybe like you want to procure an AI model into your institution or organization. You want to discuss that if there are any risks. Yeah, so a good example is actually the ABPA Senate Committee at the University of Waterloo. And Karen was actually one of the contributors to the Gen AI overview. It was wonderful. So this is actually a good example of AI governance. Is like you have a lot of experts from different fields, like IT, writing, copyright, academic integrity, you can name it. But like a little bit of the not too much of the con, but we kind of need more members to be involved, like students, researchers, faculty members, even other staff that have more expert knowledge on the AI systems and AI knowledge. Yeah. So yeah, quickly go over on the responsible AI pedagogy. So this is actually one of the startup I'm working part-time as an advisor. I won't go too much on the details because it's not like I didn't design it. I'm more of a provide suggestions and strategies for the curriculum that you're trying to build. But basically, it's actually we're trying to build a capstone project for a graduate student in Stanford where they can allow the students to come in, interested students to come in and develop responsible AI for education, mostly like for example, like a tutoring system or TA that can automate their assessments. Oh, sorry, grading assignments, for example. So these are just tools that try to like see if they can build in-house. And the strategy that you're trying to take is more of so we have to treat students as stakeholders in a real situation. Like it's more like pretend that this is actually a company that is trying to build. And we have to align a lot of these students to be more of, they have their own expertise in their area, but we also have to find that they may have other expertise in other areas. Like for example, a student could be a developer, but the student can have expertise in, like, say, philosophy or language. So we need to bring that expertise into sort of this sort of community or a bunch of stakeholders coming in. And then you have to have sort of the industry professionals to be providing the mentorship and give them guidance and bootcamp sessions so that they understand what's going on in the real world while they're doing it in academic. So it's sort of like the balance between academia and industry. Yeah, so the strategy is sort of like, this is how AI governance is more of a sort of end-to-end process, that you start from the beginning to end. You want to have a good understanding of data understanding, and you want a good understanding of the critical part, the critical analysis components. Then you want to design the ethics of decision-making on the data itself. Then you want to kind of implement the system, and you want to develop good safety practices. And then at the end, you want to do an impact assessment. So it's actually checking and monitoring to see if there's any risks coming in. And then if this stage doesn't pass, we just go back to the beginning and do everything all over. So it's actually a loop. And then the curriculum so I only grabbed a sample of the curriculum. So basically, through data understanding and critical analysis, a student should demonstrate that there's a deep investigation of data sources and limitations, including active identification or representation gaps. Documentation clearly explains data limitations, potential biases, and their implications for different learning contexts. Creates clear strategies for handling data limitations and alignment in production. So this is just data representation itself. In design ethics, they have like the educational feature engineering, where the students should demonstrate that develop sophisticated learning features with clear pedagogical justification, creates comprehensive testing frameworks for educational effectiveness, implements adaptive systems that consider diverse learning needs, maintains detailed documentation of feature impact on learning outcomes, and demonstrates systematic approach to feature refinement based on learner feedback. The next one is the implementation part and the safety practice. So there's the transparency and communication involved. So you want to create clear, accessible documentation of the system limitations, capabilities, and intended use. Develops comprehensive user guides, explain AI functionality in accessible language, implements transparent feedback mechanisms, maintains detailed change log of system updates and their implications, provides holistic evaluation of how AI decisions affect learning experiences. There's another one that I don't have to go over too much, but basically it's how you can design an algorithm and do testing on it. Yeah, so last one is the impact assessment. So it's actually the last stage where we'll see how learning impact evaluation, we'll see how they implement comprehensive learning outcome, tracking across different student groups, creates detailed analysis of intervention effectiveness, maintains ongoing monitoring of both positive and negative effects, develops clear frameworks for measuring long-term impact, documents unexpected effects and adaptation strategies. Yeah. So quickly going to closing remarks. Yeah, so in my personal opinion, governance is just like a simple democratic approach. Won't seem crazy. You don't want to have a single person making all decisions, otherwise the whole system will just collapse. Because AI is something that we need to be considered as a safety issue. And then I've got another quote from Eduardo Ornex from GenAI Lead from AWS. He kind of quoted that, there's a long quote, so I'm kind of redact it a little bit. But he was just saying that GenAI isn't just ChatGPT, isn't OpenAI, isn't Copilot. It's just math behind the scenes, math and data. And it's going to be using it for us to solve problems that we can't really solve.
Okay, so that about wraps it up in terms of all of our speakers for today. But I want to thank everyone who was a speaker at the symposium over the last 2 days. It was Great hearing from all of you. You know, there's a reason why we wanted this to be kind of more of an interdisciplinary thing. It's because we want, you know, people with different backgrounds coming together and talking about these issues. And a lot of people have expressed this idea that we should be talking about these issues more. So it's a good thing that we're able to do this. I want to thank everyone who donated to the GoFundMe to allow this to happen. I want to thank Broadview Press because they also sponsored this event. And look, by the way, I might be remiss if I didn't mention that we have an Ethics of AI textbook coming out today. So if you have any interest, you know, have a look. Available at fine bookstores everywhere. I want to, again, thank all the speakers. I want to thank the ACO for all their support in making this happen. I want to thank my co-organizer, Patrick. I don't know if you might want to have anything to say after this. And I also want to thank everyone who helped out in terms of volunteering over the last 2 days. Kavitha, Jordan, Sam for helping bring in some of the food. Again, thanks to everyone who helped out. Thanks to all the speakers. If you are a speaker, make sure you've gotten a shirt from Patrick. And with that, I think we can more or less call it a day. So thank you, everyone.